Welcome, my students. Today, we will answer the questions after we understand the text of Unit 10. We will answer the questions in reading comprehension, course book pages number 118 and 119. Do you remember the text of Unit 10? It's a diary. Again, it's إنها مذكرات. And the writer is talking about a big storm or a big ice storm. كان بيحكي عن عاصفة ثلجية كبيرة. And he was very scared and he sad for the damaged tree. كان هو حزين لتدمير الأشجار. And he talked about the electricity and the dark of the neighborhood. كان مظلم. The neighborhood is very dark. And they called this سموا هاي الستورم the storm of the century. سموا هاي العاصفة بعاصفة القرن. Today we will answer the questions on page number 118, 119. Let's start with page number 118. Question A. Fill in the blanks with the correct words from the diary entry. Fill in the blanks with the correct words from the diary entry. Here we want to complete the sentences using words from the diary. نستخدم كلمات من الدياري أو المذكرات بالنص. Number 1 January night there was a terrible 1 January night there was a terrible storm. Yes, terrible storm because all the diary is talking about the terrible storm. بيحكي عن العاصفة الهائلة. So number 1 storm. Number 2 it was to see anything. It was to see anything. We can't see anything in the neighborhood. Why? ما بستطيع نشوفوا أي شيء بالحي. Why? Because it's too dark. It's too dark. مظلم. Number 3 the writer sat wrapped in a. The writer sat wrapped in a. wrapped حكينا غطى ب. Excellent. The blanket. The thick blanket حكينا البطانية السميكة. Number 4 everywhere the writer looked there was. Everywhere the writer looked there was ice. And we called the storm the ice storm. كان بيشوف أو بيشاهد الثلج. B. If you agree with the statement below, write yes in the middle column. Otherwise, write no. Then give the reason why you think so. The first one has been done for you. Okay, in this exercise, here we have a table. Here we have the statement, yes or no, and the reason. Here we have the statement from the diary. If you agree, إذا بتوافق بهاي الجملة نحكي yes. إذا ما بنوافق نحكي no, and we will give a reason. رح نعطي سبب للموافقة أو عدم الموافقة. If yes or no. This is an example. The writer was scared. The writer was scared. هل كان خائف الكاتب؟ Yes. Why? Because she was reading a scary story. Here we use she because the writer is a girl. Here we use she because the writer is a girl. هي عبارة عن كاتبة. Okay, so we use she. So, yes, the writer was scared. Why? Because she was reading a scary story. يعني كانت تقرأ بقصة مخيفة. Let's go to number 2. The neighbors had electricity. The neighbors had electricity. Do you agree with this statement? No. الحي ما كان فيه كهرباء. So, I don't agree with this statement. Why? Because this is the reason. Because a branch had hit the electricity line in the neighborhood. لأنه زي ما حكينا إنه فرع من فروع الشجرة ضرب سلاك الكهرباء. So there is no electricity in the neighborhood. Let's go to number 3. The writer's family managed to stay warm. The writer's family managed to stay warm. استطاعوا إنهم يكونوا أو يبقوا بالدفء. عائلة الكاتب. What do you think? Do you agree with this statement? Yes. When they use the wood stove. لما استخدموا فرن خشبي. Look at this. They had a wood stove that kept them warm. هذا هو السبب إنه فعلا بقيوا دافئين. Number 4. It was the worst ice storm the people had ever seen. It was the worst ice storm. أسوأ عاصفة ثلجية. worst الأسوأ. The people had ever seen. هي أسوأ عاصفة ثلجية شهدها الناس. Yes, I agree with this statement. Why? Because the newspapers called it the storm of the century. The newspapers called it the storm of the century. لأنه حكينا الجرايد سموها بعاصفة القرن. So, here we have the agreement or disagreement with the statement. موافق أو ما موافق مع الجملة. And here we have the reason of the agreement or disagreement. الموافقة أو عدم الموافقة هي سببها. Okay? From the text. Let's go to the page number 119. Here we have exercise C, and this exercise is about you. The questions are about you. Answer the following questions. جاوب أنت هاي الأسئلة عن نفسك. What should you do to prepare yourself for emergencies such as earthquakes, floods, or sudden storms? أنت إيش ممكن تعمل أو تحضر ل طوارئ مثل الزلازل أو الفيضانات أو هاي العواصف. Number 2. How can you help others in such situations? How can you help others in such situations? كيف ممكن تساعد الآخرين بهاي المواقف؟ I will give you a suggestion answers for these questions. Number 1, for example, I will read about these emergencies, or I will keep the important phones with me at all times. So I will read about these emergencies and I will keep the phone with me at all times. Number 2, how can you help others in such situations? Maybe by finding an adult and by taking him or her to the people who need help. So these are suggestion answers for these questions. Try to answer these questions alone, my students, on your notebook. So question C is a homework. Question C is a homework. D. Check your understanding of sequencing. Number the sentences in the correct order. The first one has been done for you. Here we have 5 statements or sentences and we have to order them correctly. لازم نرتب هاي الجمل. Number 1 is the lights went out and it became very dark. What is number 2? What do you think is number 2? Number 2, Dad took out the torches. حكينا أخذ الشعلات. Number 3, what do you think is number 3? The tree trunk made a terrible sound as it split into two. حكينا لما جذع الشجرة انقسم. Okay, this is number 3. Number 4, the ropes on the swing snapped. The ropes on the swing snapped. انكسر فجأة. كان حبال الأجنحة أو الأرجوحة. And the last sentence is this made the writer sad. This made the writer sad. حكينا إنه the writer is very sad and scary because the trees are damaged. Okay, so these are the correct order of the sentence. This is number 2. This is number 3. Number 4, and the last sentence. This one. Okay, again, number 1, the lights went out and became very dark. Dad took out the torches. The tree trunk made a terrible sound as it split into two. The ropes on the swing snapped, and this made the writer sad. Let's go to number 2. Number the sentences in the correct order. The first one has been done for you. Again, here we have a number of sentences and we have to order them correctly. Okay. Number 1, it was a bit calmer the next morning. What is number 2? What do you think is number 2? Good. The writer looked out the window. The writer looked out the window. So this is number 2. What do you think is number 3? Which one is number 3? The writer saw ice covering the whole neighborhood. شاهد ثلج تغطي الحي. So this is number 2. Number 4. What do you think is number 4? This or this? Yes, very good. This one is number 4. The writer realized there was no electricity in the entire neighborhood. شاهد إنه ما في كهرباء في الحي. And the last sentence is the writer wondered how long it would take for the electricity to come back. يعني بتساءل إنه كم وقت بدها ترجع الكهرباء. So this is the correct order. Number 1, it was a bit calmer the next morning. The writer looked outside the window. The writer saw ice covering the whole neighborhood. The writer realized there was no electricity in the entire neighborhood. And the last one, the writer wondered how long it would take for the electricity to come back. So, here we have the answers of the questions on pages number 118 and 119. Please answer them on your course book, and this is a homework. Answer it on your notebook. Thank you, my students.